We have this great luck of having 280 days of sun in a year. I feel like this is why I ended up being in Istria. It's a place you can pretty much climb all year round, but the largest crag in Istria is called Companj.
Our so-called house crag, big overhangs, roofs, slabs. It's basically everything in a matter of short 10 minutes walk from our lodge.
Hello, everybody. We are pleased to have you here in that webinar, and we'd love to share some local knowledge about rock climbing around our place. It's called Mountain Lodge Istria, and the climbing there, you will learn all about it, and we would like to share as much as we know. And I'm Ines Papert. I'm a professional climber for more than half of my life already. I've been a climber since I moved to the Alps in Bavaria in my late teenagers and just started climbing. I realized from the beginning that this was it. And pretty soon I got into ice climbing, and all this kind of competition thing was quite new. And apparently I had some talent and managed to win several times the World Championships, World Cups, and so on. At the same time, I became a mother, and I always tried to be a good parent and a skilled climber, which was not always easy to handle, but it's been part of my life and it's been a wonderful path. And sharing the rope today with my son is pretty sweet. Yeah, I've been always into all kind of mountain sports, ice climbing, rock climbing, paragliding, skiing, all those things, because I'm a curious person. And did quite some alpine climbing, new routes, many of them together with Luka when we were still a couple. And we were like always a good team with the skills of doing quick decisions. So back in the days, we had this vision, let's have a second home somewhere in the Mediterranean to not get, burnt out and overwhelmed by all the opportunities in the Alpine. And so we ended up having this place also for our friends, and today having that place for guests and people from all over the world is a big reward of what we have achieved building up in the village of Companj.
Hello everyone from my side as well. I'm Luka Lindič and I'm an alpinist climber from Slovenia. And actually I spent most of my early childhood, most of my summers with my parents on the coast of Istria. But then my path took totally different way, and I spent quite I would say, fanatical years of alpinism and climbing in my 20s, climbing around the globe. And today I'm having a quite easier rhythm, I would say, more in peace. But I look backwards with pleasure because I see that all these fanatical years left some skills that are needed or that are appreciated in different projects nowadays. And one of them is the one we will talk about today, the one we are building together with Ines, and a bit later Jasna joined us in the team. And I'm more than happy to share everything we learned already about Istria.
Hello everyone, I am Jasna Dušić. I live in Roć, in the small picturesque town just above the crag of Companj, which we will cover later on. I am climber, yoga teacher. I am now a member of the Mountain Lodge Istria team. I came to live here 3 years ago, which was a big wish from me and my then boyfriend. When Companj was developing in 2008, we heard that some new crag is developing, so we just wanted to be part of it and came to see it. So that first day, we realized that one day we really want to live here. I have this very, very vivid image of us coming down the crag, coming out of the woods, seeing the sunset over a beautiful vineyard, the town of Roć in the back scene. So yeah, we just knew that one day we would come here, and here we are. Many years later, I've met Ines and Luka and have the privilege of joining my passions with theirs, our dreams, and we will talk about it all later on.
Yeah, we're very privileged having you with us, Jasna. And every guest would actually ask, how is it possible that you find a person with such a perfect fit, work and support your project? And we are really happy to share our vision with you. We would like to cover a few words about beauty of Istria. We will talk about the history of Istria and their giants. Of course, share some insights about rock climbing and the technical aspects. And we would like to speak about the story of Mountain Lodge Istria. And we also share a typical day of our experiences. So what is so unique in Istria? When I watch those pictures, I feel like this is why I ended up being in Istria. It's those colors, those rolling hills in the inland in the back of the country allows the sun to go down really slow, and that picture of colors and all the nature getting colored by the beautiful sunset is definitely one thing I love to experience again and again, and I get never tired about it. Istria has a very characterized landscape. In the back of the country, it's the hills, vineyards, olive trees, lots of wild plants and flowers that are still existing almost nowhere else in Europe but there. And we have this great luck of having 280 days of sun in a year, approximately. It has this Mediterranean feeling. Once you enter there, you will realize we are bordered to Italy and to Slovenia, and that also explains why different cultures over the empires started to mix the country. And it's a really open-minded part of Europe. It's in the very northwest of Croatia, and it's a large peninsula surrounded by almost 500 kilometers of coastal line. The Adriatic Sea is beautiful, clear, and allows us and our guests to spend some sort of mountain vacation in a peaceful part of the country, but also enjoying the beauty of the sea. And of course, there's really, really pretty cliffs just next to the sea where you can enjoy the views, watch the dolphins, climb routes in all kind of levels. But the largest crag in Istria is called Companj. So the J is silent. Companj has the largest amount of roots in Istria, and that's where we have our house, just at the bottom of that crag. It's a place you can pretty much climb all year round, but I personally love the winter season the most because it's a bit colder. It's a bit like, the colors are more intense, and you can really enjoy all those kind of sunny exposed rocks without being too hot. And it's just, quite close to the center of Europe. How to get there from an international destination? It's like flying into Zagreb or flying into Ljubljana or Venice in Italy. And if you're not having an experience with us where we would take care on your transportation, it's recommended to rent a car and explore the place by yourself. We're always happy to share our knowledge with you whenever you contact us. Also, if you decide not to stay with us, if you decide to stay in a camper or in a tent, there are wonderful campgrounds that we kindly ask you to use because we really want to respect the local kind of habits and rules. And one of the rules is they love us as the climbers, but they want us to stay at the campgrounds and not at the official parkings and private ground. We have this amazing national park, which is, of course, a very high protected area. And here you can climb all those towers. So as you can see, there's overhanging rocks, there's technical climbing, there's crag climbing, a little bit of track climbing, and some very few multi-pitch routes. But climbing is one of the many outdoor sports we are enjoying doing in Istria a lot. I love to ride my bike and explore the country because you see the place with a different perspective, and you will enjoy those tiny little roads that go all the way up into the mountains. You will hardly see any car spend all day long alone with your friend or whoever joins you. And riding a bike is definitely a good rest day activity, and you can still use our rental bikes from the lodge or even an e-bike if you prefer to have it easier. Hiking is kind of super nice and really recommended, and often you will be on the trail alone with your little group. The highest peak is called Vojak. It's from sea to summit, 1,400 meters of a hike. You can always do easier hikes, shorter hikes, but you have to enjoy the views and the surrounding Adriatic. On a clear day, you are able to see the Julian Alps and sometimes even the Dolomites. And if you don't like hiking so much or hiking down, I'm a paraglider. I really love raising my wing, launching and flying back home to Mountain Lodge Istria or lounging in on Chuchoria, there are many possibilities for paragliding as well. So it's quite a place that offers a lot of different sports. But of course, the rock climbing is that what I love the most. As I said, there's not much tourism in the back of the country, and with rock climbing, the place realized that, there's some potential of having climbers, and we are always well treated, and we have the area to promote climbing a little bit. We did some publication in Klettern magazine. If you're German speaking, you will find a lot of infos about climbing in the last issue of Klettern. And yeah, time is going slow. In Istria, there's a different rhythm of life. And once I enter the place, I can totally dive into that kind of different timing. You live some sort of in a bubble. You kind of get the vibe once you're there, but everything takes its time, and you definitely should consider to take a few more days of your holidays than just a couple of days. There's so much to explore. Who better than Jasna could talk about the history and their giants in Istria, because that's a really interesting story. I just recently learned about it.
Yeah, we somehow decided, instead of telling you the straightforward history facts that can be easily found by yourself, to tell local legend. And this is one of my favorites, because all Istrian old towns inland were built high on hilltops. So why is this? Who carried all these massive stones up? And how long did it take to construct these remarkable old stone towns? So, according to a local lore, the Istrian towns of Rožňan, for example, Roć, this is a nearby town that you can see from Companj, Motovun, Sovinjak, Vrh, and some others were built by giants. There was the biggest one of them, the giant Dragonja, carved the Mount Cičarija, which is also easily seen from our lodges and from the crag of Companj. It's a protected area. So he carved the mountain to the sea, which later filled with water, and this is when the most important river in Istria was created, the Mirna River, and with that the Mirna Valley, which is also in the area we are talking about tonight. While this big giant Dragonja was having some issues in the main town Pazin, some other his friends giants were claiming these little hills, and each one of them built a town of his own. At the end of this construction period, some smaller stones were left, and they came to the idea to build the smallest town in the world with the remaining stones, which is actually now the city of Hum, the town of Hum, the smallest town in the world, which you may have heard of until now. This story for me is very, very interesting, and you can practically feel these fairy tales everywhere in Istria. It's a country very rich with legends. You feel them in the small roads. People like talking about them, and yeah.
I will speak a bit more about the technical aspect and diversity of rock climbing in Istria. I would like to touch our so-called house crag, Companj, mostly because it's a 10 minutes walk from our lodge. And then because we just think it has a incredible quality of offering routes of all difficulties next to each other, which is not so often the case in the crags, that basically total beginner can climb next to a professional climber, and each will be at like a difficulty that one wish to climb. So this offers us really a perfect playground to learn from each other and to just enjoy at whichever difficulty you want. But in our surrounding around Istria, close and a bit further away, we have it's all limestone, the crags. So all of the rock that we have, it's limestone, which means that we have really many different features we can climb on, because that's just how limestone is, and what offers us is the big diversity. Also, we have many different colors and bigger features, from towers to sea cliffs, big overhangs, roofs, slabs. It's basically everything in a matter of short walk or drive from the lodge. For someone that would like to be well prepared to go not just one day, but a few days or even longer trip to Istria, I would say it's good to have two pairs or different pairs of climbing shoes, one stiffer pair for the vertical technical routes and one softer pair for all the steep tufa climbs. For those that are climbing a bit harder, mostly I would also recommend to bring a knee pad, because there are really many routes on tufas that are very steep, and climbing with a knee pad in some routes, we could say almost obligatory to make your way up. It's an important piece of equipment for someone that wants to climb a bit harder. Otherwise, in the easier crags, we have usually really well-equipped routes, which is not always the case, but I dare to say that in Istria, the bolting is really safe with very good high quality material used. Usually there is a 2-bolt anchor at the top with a carabiner, so it's really user-friendly experience. And next to those crags like Companj, where we have like a really big mix in terms of difficulty, there are quite a few crags where you have either only easier routes or only hard routes, which also has its benefits. For example, those crags with only easier routes are perfect for, let's say, climbing schools, so you can have a bit more of your own corner to focus on what you want to do. And then at the same time, in the harder crags, and let's say better climbers can enjoy their own game. And if they want to mix, they can go to the crags like Companj. As you can see on this map, climbing crags are located around, or are really concentrated around Roch and Buzet. Our lodge is located as well really close to Roch. Once you are in this area, you really use your car for half an hour per day maximum. So this is really convenient, and also one of the reasons why we decided to build this base camp in that area. Regarding the seasons of climbing in Istria, I would say that the best seasons are spring and fall for most people, just because you can experience most of the crags in a relatively good or the best part of the year for a certain crag, and you can still do some other activities like running or biking or even going for a swim in the sea, especially in the fall when the water is still warm. Then at the same time, especially for the people that are less performance orientated and would just like to have, or would more like to have active holidays, also summer can be totally fine to climb few routes below your level and combine it with sea vacations. And then on the other side, the people that are looking more to perform, let's say, those people will probably come in the coldest months of the year, just because many of the crags and many of the hard routes are facing south, and those climbers will seek for colder temperatures. We get sometimes snow in winter, but really rarely, and usually it's gone after a day of nice weather. And usually it's just a local attraction for a couple of hours to make the landscape a bit more special, and then very soon fine again to go and climb, especially because we have this variety of routes, some of them that are really compact vertical face climbs that dry in 1 hour, especially with a bit of wind, which is many times the case in Istria. Tufa climbs might stay wet after a long period of rain for a bit longer, but almost always you can find something to climb because of this combination. Also, climbing in rain is possible in few sectors, so it's really a good playground. And I guess both of us with Ines, we are not locals there, and it's clear that this was a big reason why we decided to invest so much energy in this area, because we ourselves were convinced that the area has so much to offer. But still, once you walk through a village, even when you know all this potential, dreams are one thing, but then really taking a step of deciding to buy 2 ruins and trying to turn them into what we call now a base camp for active people, it's quite a brave move. And I believe that how we are as people with Ines, also climbing and alpinism shaped us to be able to dare to take such bold decisions sometimes, and most of all have a vision and believe in it, and have this mental endurance, I would say, to keep going also when it really doesn't look promising. It's something we often go through when we are on a big mountain or on a big route. And also our start here was started far away from promising, with totally destroying the first ruin where nothing was left. It was just super hard to imagine that we can turn something like this into something nice. But yeah, we just went step by step, like with the climbs we are used to. We established a little base camp in an old trailer, and yeah, just kept returning down there, and we're investing lots of energy. It's now 7 years that we are working on this project, and it was really hard to keep the motivation, to keep the belief. Most of all, we were really tested many times. But now we are proud that we managed to stick to the idea and kept the belief in our vision that we had. So finally, we are so far that we have this base camp, but this was only part of our vision. We can say it's okay. It's now we have this base camp, but or a building, but it's not worth a lot if the building has no life. So next to the fact that we managed to renovate these two ruins, I think we are even more proud that we managed to become friends with everyone that worked on this project so far, which is not always the case working on a project that costs so much money and time to develop these professional relationships into friendships. And because of our energy, also the locals really turned into friends and into a support. We were really proud on our opening party when everyone came together to celebrate the opening of the two lodges late in the night. I have a little memory when the house was so full on this party. Then I just, after a late night party, decided to sleep in the grass outside of the house. And then in the morning, I woke up to the sound of the nature. And then I knew that our vision really made full circle, because we have this base camp now with a really nice community. But still we are taking care of the nature, taking care of how the village looks like. And this was our vision, to try to build something nice that will also be nicely integrated in the local environment and community. So yeah, now we are finally so far that we can start sharing this with people.
Also im Mountain Lodge Istria ist jeder willkommen, egal was für Kletterlevel hat.
Bei uns kannst du gleich vor der Haustüre klettern gehen, in fast allen Schwierigkeitsgraden. Und bei uns kannst du Mountainbiken, Rennrad fahren, Gleitschirm fliegen.
Unser Hauptziel ist, die Leuten ein modernes Basecamp anzubieten für alle diese Aktivitäten.
Yoga und Klettern harmonieren unglaublich gut miteinander, weil du im Klettern die Beweglichkeit brauchst, auch die Ruhe, die innere Stärke, und die kannst du ganz gut auch im Yoga trainieren. Und dafür haben wir eine Yogalehrerin vor Ort, die Jasna, sehr gute Freundin auch, und wir werden gemeinsam diese Camps anbieten, in denen wir morgens und abends Yoga praktizieren und tagsüber gemeinsam zum Klettern gehen. Ja, dann Abend alle zurückkommen von ihren Aktivitäten, dann trifft man sich wieder hier, kocht gemeinsam oder lässt sich bekochen. Wir werden draußen grillen, natürlich auch darf das Feiern nicht zu kurz kommen, und am Lagerfeuer zusammensitzen. As Luka mentioned already, the house only started to make sense, both houses, once they became filled with life and with all the friends and people and guests that have been visiting us. That never came only once, but they all came back twice or even more. We also had a few experiences with a bunch of people, and we would like to share with you how a typical day of our trips would look like. The day would start with a yoga session of Jasna, and she can probably explain way better than I do. Why would yoga be so perfect in a combination with climbing?
Well, for me, at least, yoga and climbing are the only activities where I can really be in the moment. This is, let's say, the first obvious link between these activities. So they're both adaptable to all fitness levels. So regardless if you ever tried yoga or climbing, or you are more advanced, they support each other very well. Some of the key points are, of course, the flexibility and the mobility, which climbing needs quite a big and wide range of motions. And here yoga helps by working, of course, on flexibility through the movements, keeping the muscles and the joints supple, but of course, giving this gentle touch of strengthening. Of course, the core, which is very, very important in climbing. We rely on our core for balance and stability. Of course, yoga here builds the core throughout the main asanas that like a base yoga class has. Also, one of the important key points is balance and the body awareness. So climbing demands a very precise positioning of the body, and yoga enhances this efficiency and control with the mental focus and the breath control, which is very, very important in climbing. At least for me, it was a very turning point when I started doing yoga more often and more seriously. I realized the first thing I noticed, the game changer in climbing, was this breath and the focus that I got from yoga. And of course, all the classes that we do in Mountain Lodge Istria are adapted to climbers with the stress in recovery, in injury prevention. So we do classes in the morning, in the evening as well, just to see the differences in both approaches. And of course, the recovery and the injury would be like the key points of our classes, I would say.
Do you remember the other guest that was like the day coming up the next morning and asking, Ines, how is that possible? I did yoga once in my life and I had pain in my back for years and years and it's all gone. We can not promise that to everyone, but in a few examples it really works. And talking from myself personally, after a week doing yoga with you and actually less climbing, training for myself, I felt like I'm a better climber. I felt I climbed just harder without any training. Well, after yoga and after breakfast, we usually take our guests out climbing. Usually every day in 7 days, there might be a day off where we are all explore the place and do some sort of historical town visiting or biking. But otherwise, the trip is really focused on climbing and we take our guests to different crags every day, almost every day. The protection is really safe. It's solid bolted. The local community is really, really working hard on that. And our ratio is 4 clients and 1 guide. And there is also one option to participate in a female-only yoga climbing retreat, which is taught by Jasna and myself. And people come with totally different expectations and backgrounds. So some would just like to enjoy climbing and spend their holidays with us. But others, they would like to improve their skills and get rid of fears and doubts, which is quite often a topic in between women that have an easier time getting rid of fears if it's an all-female clinic. So that's really what I learned over the years is like within the female group, there's a different dynamic. But Luka and Jasna also offer a mixed gender program, so there are all the options. Safety is very high rated in our groups. Of course, anchors are great. And otherwise, the closest crag to Mountain Lodge Istria is Companj, which Luka talked already about it. We start with our groups first climbing day on the easiest crag. Or sometimes we divide the groups in one more experienced climbing group and the others are more beginners or like people that would not want to climb so hard. In that place, which we opened last year, I with some friends from Germany, we have the opportunity of climbing in a grade where everyone feels comfortable and we quickly see where the issues are, and we love to help our clients to become better climbing if our guests really want that. And yeah, at the end of a full-on climbing day, everyone is tired walking back from the crag to the lodge at the sunset. We have a little snack before we then give you the opportunity of a live presentation. Neither I or Luka we are talking about our life as climbers, as alpinists, and how we deal with fears and doubts and decision taking. And so many questions in life in general can be transformed from alpine climbing. And yeah, we often end up with our guests in a night-long discussion. In between, we have some delicious local food cooked by local chefs that come up and give our guests a taste of local typical Mediterranean, but also kind of Balkan cuisine. Truffles, they're famous for Istria, or Istria is famous for truffles. They grow there in colder season, and once in a week we also serve our guests a delicious truffle dinner. And after, we usually sit at the campfire and talking about climbing, about life, and having a lot of fun, laughing about each other, with each other, and celebrating how wonderful life can be when you just spend your time climbing.
Also das ist super, super Kletterspot und auch die Organisation, also Ines, besser geht's nicht mehr.
Die Woche war mega aktiv.
Ich habe genau das gekriegt, was ich wollte.
Ich bin sehr müde hierher gekommen.
Und ich habe es voll genossen.
Super einfach, Ines, dass du dir gestern auch nochmal Zeit genommen hast. Ich bin für die Eva da und das hat mir sehr geholfen.
Das habe ich erreicht.
I really enjoyed the yoga classes.
It's a huge portion of heart. Ja, es war wirklich tolle Woche. Auch voll herzlich auch gemacht, von dir, vor allem am Fels von dir beim Kochen. Und man hört auch, dass es eher sehr streng bewertet ist. Stimmt alles nicht. Also Kletterkomfortbereich ist so 5C, 6A.
Very nice to meet you.
That was fantastic.
Das Haus ist einfach fantastisch hier.
Perfekt. Ich habe es wirklich genossen.
I'm very grateful for that.
Such a beautiful place. I really love it.
Hope to see you again, yeah.
I can't wait to come back.
Yeah, that's actually the best what we can imagine, like having such a valuable and good feedback from our guests. And if everyone leaves the place with a big smile and the promise to come back, that's all what we wanted, to have people spending a good time with us, and learning and teaching is more or less also part of my life as a professional climber, as so for Luka. And yeah, with Jasna, I think we are a really passionate team, and hopefully we could give you some answers of many questions. If you like to stay with us, we would love to host you. If you think a soft bed is too cozy and too kind of normal, we can always talk about an option, sleeping in a portaledge above the sea. We also organize that, just quite unique. And yeah, in any case, if you come visit the place, get in touch and let's go climbing together.
Thank you everyone for joining us, and hopefully see you in Istria, I would say.
Yes, Phil. I would really love to see some of you in Companj.
And maybe let's have a drink together, or in best case, a climbing day or a few more